Welcome to Metal Wani and Metal Nation Radio. With us today, we have the Axeman, one of the best guitarists in heavy metal right now, Mr. Chris Broderick of Act of Defiance. How are you doing, Chris?
I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me on your show.
Amazing. Now, Act of Defiance is just a week away from unleashing the debut album, Birth and the Burial. Now, how excited are you guys, keeping in mind that the debut album is always a special thing in a musician's career?
We're extremely excited, especially with how fast this all came together and, the group of guys, in the band, myself, Henry, Sean, and Matt. It's just like, it's really something we're looking forward to. It's awesome.
Fantastic. Now, fans are going to taste, through tracks like Throwback, Uneven Refrain and Reflection, most recently Legion of Lies. How have they responded? I mean, you guys, and it's very important for you to know how the fans are responding to your new material. So how's it been so far?
It's been overwhelmingly positive. It's like, I think a lot of people are making great comparisons to us and other bands, but it's funny because, one person will say, "Oh, they sound like this band," and then the next person, "Well, they sound like that band," and it's almost got this contrast, and I love that because that's kind of in a way where we're coming from, where all of our different writing influences are kind of coming out, and it's not any subgenre of metal specific,
Absolutely true. Now, before we talk about the album, let's just cover up the formation of this amazing band. I mean, which is very exciting to see how the lineup shaped up. So, how did this group come about with you guys, you and Drew, collaborating with Henry and Matt?
Right. Well, it's funny because shortly after Sean and I left Megadeth, we were talking about how it was kind of a bummer that the music that we had written over the years wasn't going to get released or anything. And so we kind of started talking about, well, you know what, maybe we should release it. Yeah, let's just get it out there and see what people think. And then from there, it quickly turned into, you know what, let's do this as a full-fledged band and let's make a go of it, and give the public something that they can really latch onto and not just another project with different members that are going to go their own ways.
Right.
And so from there, what we did was we compiled a list of like 30 singers, all the way from unknowns to some really well-known singers.
Awesome.
And so we discussed it and we whittled it down to like 5 singers that we really wanted to target.
Wow.
So we sent them out, contacted them, and sent them out our first demo, which was actually Legion of Lies. And when the vocals came back on the demos, we hands down thought Henry's was the best.
Wow. So, is it like the songs where, let's say, majority of the material was written when you guys were already in Megadeth, or it just seemed to happen the moment you guys left?
No, I think what happened was, like I said, we initially were like, we should release this stuff that would, that was potentially written for Megadeth. And then from there, once we decided to make it a band, we kind of pick and chose a few riffs that we wanted to stay with, that we thought fit the style of the band the best. But then from there, we wrote all new, fresh material.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, by far the bulk of it was really written after the fact, but it was inspired. We'll say it was inspired by the material we had written previously.
Awesome, sounds really great. Was there anybody who was very close to, let's say, to get this the job of the vocalist, apart from Henry? I mean, like the runner-up of this competition.
Yeah, there was, but there were a lot of great vocal submissions. Like. They were all top notch, but either through scheduling conflicts or just different logistical issues that might occur with trying to work with them.
Right.
That's another thing that really made it, that Henry worked out very well for us.
Awesome. That's really great. Now, what can I say about the album? I mean, you guys, when the band was formed, you were very specific that you promised a fast, you promised a heavy and aggressive album. And after listening to the album, it's very easy to say that you guys delivered what was promised, which not many bands actually do, because they talk a different thing in press, and when the album comes out, it's like a different story altogether. Now, be it track like Throwback or like Thy Lord Belay, or even like the modern sounding with a lot of textures, like for instance Poison Dream. Was this shift a result of the collaboration, or was it something that you guys were specifically looking for to explore the spectrum of heavy metal?
Really, we weren't really looking to explore anything. I think we were just writing from our gut, and for example, the Poison Dream entrance is a direct influence of my classical upbringing,
right?
And I know that in small amounts you can get away with that in metal, and people actually like the change of pace,
Right. Absolutely.
So.
I mean, Poison Dream kind of reminded me of Nevermore, to be honest. I mean, the way it navigates through the melodic harmonies, the thrashy midsection, and even the culminating, that moody ending. It's difficult not to get lost in it. I mean, was it something which, because I was just wondering, I mean, seeing you guys playing live with Nevermore, I kind of felt like, okay, maybe the day will come and I would see, Chris writing some material for Nevermore.
Well, that was something that was mentioned, but never came to fruition with Nevermore.
Now, the guitar parts in Birth and the Burial have a lot of dynamics, a lot of textures, with a nice mix of classical music, like you mentioned, be it the acoustic sections or even the raw thrashy rhythms. I mean,
right.
With a track like Throwback, which is more like a nice, clean melodic intro into a full-fledged assault. Can that be said that this defines your playing style, and that is something that you strive to achieve in your compositions?
I think it sets a good example of the basis for what Act of Defiance is, but I don't think it takes it to the extremes of our limits either way.
Right.
The funny thing about Throwback was its initial inception was that heavy thrash rhythm that comes in after the intro.
Right.
And it was meant to just be this assault, on the audience. And, and then I had the intro to it written, but not the lead guitar part. And, I was listening to it and I liked it fine, but it was like, well, is it really necessary? And so I decided that either I'm going to remove it and just come in with the heavy thrash thing, or I'm going to try and make it, necessary and a worthy, intro to really lead into that. And
right.
So that was actually the very last thing that was recorded on the album was the intro part, the intro lead on Throwback.
That sounds good, because I mean, for you, your journey has been like more than a decade, and this is the first time where you got to be like a main guy. Look forward to the vocals, to see how Henry is singing, and obviously Sean's experience and even Matt's experience. So being more like a leader of this band, did you feel you were totally involved with the songwriting process? So how was it working with Henry in terms of his vocals? Because the way you've explored him on this album is something which I didn't even imagine seeing him doing when he was part of Scar the Martyr.
Right. Well, I think it's, I think it's really just allowing, all of our influences kind of to come together and have say, as far as Henry's vocals go, he came in and wrote some awesome melodies and some great lyrics, and it's just like, it's exactly what you would hope for when you write something and you get together with your buddies and jam and they make it better.
Right. Absolutely
And
true. I mean, for you as well, the departure of you and Drover was more like a surprise. But however, after listening to Super Collider, Megadeth fans easily felt that the band has drifted way too far from its roots. I mean, was that like a change in direction, also as a factor that you and Drover decided to just take it forward and basically take the lead rather than being just like a hired guy?
well, I think in a way it was part of it because, Dave was calling both Sean and I, hey, when are you guys going to come down and start working on this new CD?
Hmm.
And, I just didn't want to start working on that when my heart wasn't in it, and I knew that we wanted to write, really heavy material.
Hmm.
And so it was a little bit of a factor.
Right, and seeing you, I mean, I kind of feel that the only song in Megadeth, right from the time you were part of it, where you were explored was actually Sudden Death. That's just my assumption because that's you, that's Chris Broderick, taking the charge and coming up with the stuff. So was there something you missed over the period of time in Megadeth?
Yes, definitely. Just the freedom to be able to create my own music, and go with it. And so that is something that I missed while I was in Megadeth.
Right, right. Now Dave, is someone with whom people get inspired, and playing along with Dave will still be a dream come true for many upcoming guitarists. How would you
Yep.
describe your experience playing with him? I mean, what were the best moments you can recall playing with the legend like Dave?
Well, for me, it was definitely the big four shows. You
Hmm.
know, it was it was coming together as a bunch of metal bands and really celebrating the style of music more than anything.
Right.
And my hats off to Metallica for that because they, I mean, they're on a level where they really don't need any other band to help support their career or anything like that. And they made it happen. And when we came in to do the Big Four,
Hmm.
they were gracious. They're like, if you ever need to use our rehearsal room, feel free. They just made it as open, as friendly as possible. And then to be able to get on stage and jam with all of the Big Four bands at one time
Right.
in front of all those crazy fans, that's really the highlight for me.
Awesome, man. And how about your experience with Dave?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I definitely enjoy getting on stage with him, and he is one of the originators of thrash metal. So, you can't help but take something from that.
Definitely. Now, coming back to the album, I mean, this material is meant to be played live, and I'm sure there are many fans who want to know what's the plan of touring. I mean, a new band, and I'm sure that when you guys are on stage with this material, it's going to be a great time. So, anything planned so far for this year or maybe next year?
Yeah, we're we're looking at um, well, tours late fall for both the U.S. and potentially Europe.
Hmm.
We haven't quite announced any dates yet because we're still trying to, work some things and move some shows around and all of that. But we're almost there.
Cool. So, a US tour followed by a European tour, like probably early next year.
Um, Hopefully as early as late fall.
All right, cool. And what about, is there any possibility of adding another guitarist for tour? Because, for you to handle both the rhythm and the lead might be a little bit difficult.
Yep. Well, I definitely would love that, to add another guitarist eventually.
Hmm.
The thing that is probably holding us back right now is the, getting established side of it, because right now we have to grind it out in clubs and, I think the market doesn't really know what to expect.
Expect. Hmm.
And yeah, and so, until we can really, afford to bring another guitarist on,
Right.
I think we're going to do it as a four piece. But I definitely want to consider that for the future.
Sounds good. So, who would the choice be, regardless of whether it can work out or not?
Well, I have a really good friend and a really great guitarist named Jake Dreyer,
Hmm.
who I'd like to bring on and have him do some of the guitar work stuff. Um, But, you know, like I said, time will tell where we go in that direction, you know.
Absolutely. And then again, seeing active Defiance in India, I don't know when is that going to happen, but definitely would be on the cards maybe by next year at least.
Yeah, I would think so. If we can get to, you know, the Pacific Rim and you know, Singapore and that area, and maybe even as far as Thailand, you know, then we're right there.
Awesome. Sounds really great, Chris. Now, I always wondered if there's even a possibility of Nevermore resurrecting without Jeff Loomis. Would it ever be Chris Broderick?
No, no, it would not. To me, in my mind, you know, Jeff is Nevermore. He's what, you know, I'm a guitar geek. So in my mind, Jeff is what made, you know, Jeff and Van are really the things that made Nevermore great in my mind. I know a lot of people really love Warrell's vocals, and that's huge too. But I'm a guitar geek, so
right.
You know, and I would never try and take the place of Jeff or anything like that. So
cool, Chris. An honor having a chat with you. Before I conclude, how about you define Birth and the Burial in just one sentence?
In one sentence.
That's right.
Okay. Well, Birth and the Burial to me is as if you invited fans of thrash metal, death metal, progressive metal, every type of metal, and had them come in and make the most insane mosh pit.
Awesome. Folks, new album, the debut highly anticipated album of Active Defiance is coming out August 21st via Metal Blade. Go ahead and pre-order. Thanks, Chris Broderick, for spending some time today. It's always been an honor having a chat with you.
Thanks for having me, Metal One.